everyone, welcome to the last summer tutorial of the season. We're going to be making a beach ball, and I'm going to give you some tips along the way. So here I'm just using an edible marker to mark the sections out. Some people are really good at piping freehand. Me, on the other hand, I'm not the best, so I like to sort of make sure I know where I'm going to pipe, because by the end of the cookie, if I do it freehand, it doesn't look good. Trying to get the ratios right and trying to get that rounded look here. Normally, for these types of things, if I was doing a cookie order and because I have a projector, I would actually use a picture of a beach ball, and I would use my projector to make sure that I'm getting the right, kind of rounded edges and to make it look nice and realistic, I guess. But here, I can show you that even without a projector, we can kind of play around with the lines, and if they're not perfect, it's okay because we could always hide them with our flood and icing. And then again, with my outline consistency, I'm going to do a little squiggle. This is not that big of a cookie. It's about a few inches across. It's the smaller Wilton circle that comes in the box of 101 cutters. And I'm just trying to cover my outline as much as possible. And then I'm going to move on to my blue section. So again, I'm going to outline it with my blue icing here. And I'm going right up to the yellow there, trying to follow my lines as best as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. And every time, I have a corner or sharp turn, I want to make sure I touch my icing back down to secure that icing to the cookie and give me a nice sharp edge. And then I'm going to do my red one here at the same time while my blue outline dries. It doesn't take much, a minute or two, it's fine. It doesn't have to be fully dry. Just dry enough that when I go to flood, I'm not pushing that outline out with my flood. So that's the reason I like to dry my outline for a minute or two. And then I'm going to put those squigglies in. Again, this is my outline consistency. This is my thicker icing, and that just prevents the crater from happening. So what happens sometimes is your icing dries on the edges and it's kind of still wet in the middle, and so then it gets heavy and caves in on itself. And notice how I'm doing the sections opposite of each other. So not sections beside each other. So I've done, there's a gap between each section. So when you're decorating cookies and you're doing a whole set and you've got, multiple cookies to do, you would go ahead and do, these 3 sections, let's say for each cookie, or you do all the yellow ones and the red ones and blue ones and come back, and then you could fill in the white at the same time. We don't want to do the ones next to each other because I want the separation to stay. If you want a nice flat flush cookie, you would do them right next to each other while they're still wet, and then they would kind of melt together and be flat. But here I do want to see a separation, and it's almost like a little seam between each color. And another little thing, a lot of people are worried about color bleed sometimes when they use strong colors like red next to a white. So one thing that does help as well, again, nothing is for sure guaranteed, but all these little things help. And when you use them all together, you have a better chance of not getting those things. So if you do a dark color or a strong color next to like a white color or a lighter color, you want to make sure to do those dark, strong colors first, and then you pipe with your white or lighter color, if you can. It's not always possible depending on the design you're doing. So that's why I started with the colors here. So what happens is when you pipe your white next to, let's say, a darker color, if that darker color is dry, it will absorb the moisture from the white color. Now, if I did it the opposite way and I did the white first and it dried, and then I went with the color, the dry icing is the one that's absorbing the moisture from the wet icing. So we don't want that dry white icing to absorb from the red icing, because then it might absorb the color as well. So it's always something to think about. Adding white to your icing before you color any of your icing. I add it, it's basically like an ingredient for me. That also helps a lot. The day I make it, I like to use it right away. If I have, bold colors going together against lighter colors. If it's been frozen before, sometimes it gets more color bleed for me. If it's humid outside, if you dry your cookies with a fan as well, that helps a lot too. So there's a lot of little tricks, and then you kind of learn and you apply as many as you can and you hope for the best. Here I'm just pulling once I get really close to all the colors where they meet. Again, I don't want to disturb the icing too much. I'm just trying to pull it in with my scribe. I try to get as close as I can with my bag, and if it's not enough, I'll just pull it through with my scribe a bit. I'm just going up against the next color and letting the icing do all the work for me. Gets the most even line possible, and I'm not kind of going over top of the icing or not enough, so it's a nice smooth line when it's finished. And then to top it all off with my outline icing here, I'm going to put a little ball of icing, smooth it out with my scrap because that's my thick icing. And there we go. We have an awesome beach ball cookie, and it turned out pretty good. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you guys had a great summer, and we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, happy baking!